ụlọ nsọ gị Chukwu ka anyị na-abata, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Anya bịawa ịsọpụrụ gị ugbu a, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka anyị na-akpọ gị, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Ụmụ eliwa yikọta n'otu, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Ka anyị jikọọ ofe ya ofufe godian, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Godianism bụ ịhụnanya n'udo, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Butere anyị ụzọ kpetara anyị azụ, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịa zuru ike. Bịa o, bịakwute ya, bịa o, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịa zuru ike. Bịa o, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịa zuru ike. Bịa o, bịakwute ya, bịa o, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịa zuru ike. Ise ya
Ndewo, welcome to another episode of Chiism Live. It is my pleasure to be here today. I am in sunny Florida, visiting my daughter to celebrate my husband's birthday. This is his treat. Happy birthday, Chief Ikenna. This is going to be an exciting show. It's going to be a short one because I've got to go out here and celebrate his birthday this afternoon. We're taking him out to lunch and we're going down to the beach and all that sort of thing. So we're going to have a short version today, but it's going to be a good one. This forum presents us with the opportunity to have conversations on so many different topics, but with a focus on their spiritual implications. Let me start today by offering this prayer. First of all, want to thank Chineke for a safe trip to Florida, because we didn't fly, we had to drive. And so for that, I'm very grateful. I offer this prayer. Ka ụbọchị anyị niile bụrụ ihe. Ka ihe ọma niile anyị, ihe ọbụla anyị mere anyị kpatụrụ aka n'ụwa ka ọ bụrụ sọ mma mma ka ụwa niile site n'aka anyị were hụ ihe site ugbu a ruo mgbe niile ebighị ebi. May every way of our lives be light and all our eyes be crowned with good. And may the world prosper by our ministry. And so it is. I would like to welcome my co-host, Dibia Ochoaja, Yudi Onyoha. And I think who we have right now is Dr. Let me add Yudi. Hello, Yudi. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm good. Happy birthday to dear Chief Iken Osimiri. And for those of you who don't know that not only do I play the guitar, but I'm also a damn good singer. I want to sing a happy birthday to Chief Osimiri real quick. Ready for this? There we go.
Oh, God.
Birthday to you. All right, that's all you get.
Well, it's a good thing he's not yet. He's out with his daughter. They're having Starbucks. So
all right.
I'll just have to share this little song with him when he gets back in.
Okay.
All right. And I would like to add to the stream, Dr. Simona Monet. Oh,
hello. Hey, what's up, family? There we go. Loving it. Love it. Wow, what a surprise. That's beautiful.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Shiki is the president of Wing Global International. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Today,
Great to have you.
Simona, you were supposed to make a presentation. It would have to be next week, because of Kenna's birthday and I'm not in town. So as you can see, I'm not in my usual position. But thank you for joining us for the time frame that we have to have a conversation today. I think that we would, it'll be plenty to discuss today. Yes. Anyway, welcome. I'd like to welcome all of you because our focus today is, did you want to say something? Yudi, were you trying to say something? Okay.
No. Go ahead. Right. Continue.
Okay. I also would like to welcome all those who are watching us on Chiism Live on Facebook, and then African Spirituality on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. Today, our focus is an interesting one. And but before we go any further, I'd just like to tell everybody out there, take care of your health. If you take care of your health, you're taking care of that temple, the temple of Chineke. That's who you are. We're all looking for Chineke somewhere, but this is it. Look in the mirror, because only through us do Chineke work. You know,
Yes.
nothing, you know. So I've been trying to take care of myself, and I've lost 24 pounds. Yes, yes. And
Nice.
I keep it off.
Good one.
My health depends on it. All of you, please. I'm singing it as a song now. Everybody, do yourselves a favor. Take care of your health. Take care of your health before you can take care of anybody else. Yeah, we've got children. We've got to take care of the children. Remember, if you're not well, the children will not be well. Nobody to take care of them if you're not here. So make sure that part of the love that you show your family is taking care of yourself. So
Yes.
True. Yes.
Today we are talking about leadership. Our focus is on leadership. As you all know, you look around the world, we see that there are so many countries that are doing well, but there are some that are doing very poorly. The question then is it because of leadership, or is it something else? But when you have effective leaders, they help to develop the society and the integration of individual and group goals within that society. You know, but when the leaders are poor leaders, when they don't have good vision, societies fail. Societies, you know, and most leaders don't understand that what they do impacts how the people feel about themselves, how they feel about their country. I just want to play a couple of videos that would allow us to have a conversation about leadership. What I'm about to show you is people that are in, it was taken in Nigeria. They are preparing for voting. Okay, you have to count heads. You have to count. They have people all in a line, and they have to count heads to see how many people are there to vote before they are handed what they need to use to vote. Now, pay attention. I'm not going to tell you. You will probably come back and tell me what you just saw. Okay, so I'm going to play this. That's video number 1. And then we'll talk about that. And then I'll play video number 2. Okay. I'm going to start again.
Delegate 1, orúkọ yín sà.
Orúkọ mi ni Ìdòwú Ọdún Ayọ̀tọ́pẹ́.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Hello, 30 plus 15. 45. Ọdún.
Oh my God.
45. Orúkọ yín mà.
Orúkọ mi ni Regina Mowobi.
Ẹ bá mi kà. Ẹ kà láyẹn. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 11, 12, 13, 14, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 35 plus 72.
35
plus 72.
105.
105. Granatúnjọ Augustine.
Yes.
Ó yá bá mi kà ń bẹ̀. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20.
Are you kidding me? You know what I thought about? Unexpurgated Benny Hill. That's what I thought about.
A comedy skit. This is voting getting ready to occur in Nigeria.
Wow.
What does that tell you about the leadership? What are we learning? What are these people learning from their leaders? I'm asking you. Tell me. Let's talk about it.
Here's the thing. First of all, why do you need to count heads before you vote? Can't you get your data as people are voting? You get your data just out of there.
Right.
Why do you have to sit there and create this facade as if you're doing something that is legitimate when you're not? Here's the funny thing. The people, their audience, are just as stupid as those people standing in line, just as stupid as the people doing the counting. Secondly, this is another evidence that adopting somebody else's system while purging yours, when the system is not built out of your own primordial or historical experience, this is a result of it.
Yes.
Total comedy show, an embarrassment for the country. And there's no way that you could ever say that such an exercise is legitimate as far as elections are concerned. I'm always going to disregard whatever result comes out of it.
Yeah.
Yep. And,
listen, people, if you don't ask better from your government, you're not going to get better. You're just not going to get. The sad news is the people don't know what to ask for because they're confused. They're confused.
In other words, if you have corrupt leaders, citizens become very corrupt.
Yeah, confused.
There's no two ways about it. Let me get your opinion. Thank you, Chief. Yudi. Let me get Ajamun.
I was observing it, and I looked at it at democracy as its best, and that's because the systems are rigged, like they always tell us. And then plus, like Uncle said, they're putting a system to a people that is not a part of that system. You're forcing people to believe in something that's not created by those people. And then the leaders are led by European fashions. When we come from, especially when we're talking about Africa, it does be divided. It is divided and conquered by the religious base. It's the Christian and the Muslim. That when you say, well, who are these people? And then they say, oh, well, my religion. And then that's where you start to see the real takeover by these colonials or these conquerors that has invaded Africa and invaded our people. Because what you have to look at is to say, well, how long has their system been going on opposed to how long our system been going on and how we've orchestrated our community before the colonials have came. We had structure, and their structure is destroying our people, just like we just saw. And that's what it is. It's all set up to fail and have their power and structure. So that's what I just saw.
Yeah, set up to fail. I like that.
Yes.
Just set up
That's
to
right.
fail.
How about you, Dr. Simona?
Absolutely. I think this is a reflection. First of all, I would like to give thanks to Chineke and the ancestors. But I would, moving forward, I would like to say that it's a sad depiction of where we are as African people, because we're so far from our traditions. We're so far from who we are. And when you when you get out of your traditions and who you are and how you do things, that is where all of the corruption and things like that, because what are you striving for? You're striving to be more European. You're not striving to be who you are. You're not striving to be African anymore. And so you have to, this is a sad depiction of where we are as a people. It's much deeper than what just happened. It is where we are, and not just in Africa, but around the world. All of these, like here in America, you have politicians that are in office that, you would think, okay, we have Black politicians in office right now that will fight for Black people. They will help to get reparations or help to help our communities, but they come in office, and that is not their agenda. They could care less about helping you. And so the same thing is going on all over the world. And like I said, it's just a sad depiction of where we are right now.
That's right. That's right. Dibia Chiedozie, you just joined us. I don't think you saw the video. Did you, Chiedozie? Well, good morning.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I was struggling to join the program. Yeah. There's a terrible network here because I'm using my hotspot. No light.
I see.
Faculty, so that I can use the landline. And then
I see.
The network here is terrible. So I don't know if you can hear me well.
Yeah, we can hear you very well. We can hear you. So you didn't see the video. So I'm going to move to the next one, and then you will see this one, and then you can come in. Then we can go into our discussion. So I'm going to share this one with you.
ẹ̀mí máa kọ wípé iná síwájú olúwa ojú àwọn ọ̀tá rẹ̀ mo sọ iná ọlọ́run kalẹ̀ síwájú gbogbo agbára tí kì í ṣe tọlọ́run lórí ìfàsọ́mà yìí pé ẹ máa gbiná sọnù. Èrè ti sọ nínú ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ wípé ní orúkọ Jésù ní kí gbogbo egun kó tẹríba. Ló bá jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ní orúkọ tó ju gbogbo orúkọ lọ mo pè. Akọ wípé a fún wa ní orúkọ yìí tó ju gbogbo orúkọ lọ. Ní orúkọ Jésù tó gbẹ̀yìn iṣẹ́ òkùnkùn, Sátánì àtàwọn ọmọ ogun rẹ̀, oṣù àti àjẹ́, agbára tí ń jẹ àwọn transformer yìí. Ó yẹ wọlé lọ. Ó ti nígbà kí yóò yí padà. Jésù Kristi Olúwa wa. Àmín, àmín, àmín lórúkọ Jésù. In the name of Jesus. Amen. Everlasting glory. We are going to defeat this day. We do not come to have mercy. You are the Lord of mercy. In your mercy we defeat this day. And let them be consumed. Any opposition. Let it crumble. In the name of Jesus. Command let there be light. Darkness shall not reign anymore. In the name of Jesus. We cover this with the blood of Jesus. You say it is shining on. Now forever.
They are praying by a transformer.
Look at look,
I don't make this stuff up. They are praying by a transformer for the Lord to bring them electricity, not to hold their leadership responsible, but to ask Jesus or whoever to bring the light, not for the president or the governor or whoever is in charge of that, the grid, to bring electricity, to fix it. And then they're going to go home. They're going to go home, and when it doesn't happen, where does that leave them? They haven't the sophistication to know that they have to hold their leaders responsible. I want you guys to comment on that before we continue.
Let Dr. Chido say he's on the ground right now. Let him take the lead on this conversation, because I can't get over the video right now, so I'm still trying to kind of articulate what's going on in that video.
Let me start on it.
Yeah, please do start off this beautiful.
Let me start on a sarcastic note. It's NEPA, electricity is power, and Jesus Christ is superpower. So the superpower will bring the. Well,
please.
That aside, you see, that aside, this just shows the level of our development, because human beings don't develop beyond their level of mental realization. And like you keep saying, it's like we are repeating ourselves almost every day. You cannot grow on other people's civilization, other people's culture, and without being messed up this way mentally. That's what Fela will call CBB, Confucius breakbone. Confucius everywhere. Go forward, we no fit. Go backward, we no fit. Right, we cannot go. Left, we cannot go. We are stagnant. And in that stagnant state, we are urinating, we are excreting, our excrement, our sputum, our urine, all are coagulated in that dormant state. And so it's very filthy and stinky. That's the kind of thing, and that's how we manifest it, is a state of the mind that is coagulated, a state of the mind that is dormant, stagnant, stinky, and is incapable of even doing self-judgment. Because it's when you are able to do self-judgment that you are able to judge your environment. Rather, we have been taught to pass the buck on to the invisible. And like I used to tell my students, you don't ask God to do what God cannot do, because God is spirit, and spirit is energy. Energy got no brains, it got no hands, it got no human features. which is why we evolved in the state that we are on this earth to do those things that spirits cannot do. And so if I should get disembodied right now, you will see perhaps my body seated, but I will not be able to do this activity that I am doing right now. But that my life is that there's spirit there, and then the mind consists both the physical part, the mental part, and the spiritual part. All these three levels must be trained and must be trained to work together simultaneously. So God is spirit, and if God is spirit, it's energy. Energy is already light, ones of light. So you don't go asking light to bring you light. You have to study the ingredients of light, the particles of light, and learn how to generate light. And so Fela will say, water everywhere, energy everywhere, water underground, in the air, on top of the ground, energy everywhere, yet electricity no day. If it shines small, it go go. If it no come, it go come. It go go. If it no go, it go come. It go shine small. It go shine the gun. Sometimes it even kills our equipment, our gadgets, over what they call high voltage. So all of this is because we have not been able to go back to our culture, learn the rudiments of our culture, because we thought that what our ancestors did was purely religious. No, what they practiced was religious science. There was nothing they did they had no explanation for. And until we go back to Dibia, like we use the names here to address ourselves, Dibia this, Dibia that. We think Dibia is native doctor. No, Dibia is not native doctor. Dibia is specialized. You have Dibia on physics, Dibia on neurophysics, Dibia on psychiatry, Dibia on psychology, Dibia on gynecology. We have these Dibias, and they're both male and female. Each one has its own specialization. So it is now left for us with the up-to-date knowledge we have gained, because what the rest of the world have done is to mutate their own spirituality, their own culture, from a solid state to a fluid state, a dynamic state, so that they can use that culture to address up-to-date events. We have not done that. And culture usually is like the human being. If you leave the child untamed, the child will wee-wee and poo-poo and eats his own shit. If the human being becomes old and the mind is not trained, the same human being at old age of about from 80, 90 to 100 will repeat the same cycle of wee-weeing and pooping and eating it. We have left our culture at the infancy stage and at the old Methuselah stage, uncultivated. We have left it static. So it is not dynamic. And that is why we have this kind of mentality. Because if we go back to our culture, we will realize that we have what is called electricity in our culture. Kamalu, Amadioha, Shango. That is voltage of electricity, or dynamics of electricity. Tapped. The shrines like Allah, the goddess Allah. Earth itself is a neutralizer of it. So these concepts are there. But because we do not carry the up-to-date knowledge like other civilizations have done, to go back and get initiated into our culture, understand what Dibia is, refine them, and then detonate a bomb on our solid state philosophy, which is what we are doing on this program. Then we will now make our culture dynamic, and then develop principles.
Let me, because you're going to come back, Dibia Chiedozie. I have a particular assignment for you today based on an article that you sent to me. I want you to talk on that. But before we do that, I just want to share this fact that I did watch a video where it's circulating, and believe it or not, it's it shows the best nations in the world. It didn't include the United States, but it shared the best nations in the world, the cleanest nations in the world, the countries that if you go there, you will not believe that you're part of this world. Singapore, New Zealand, Iceland. But guess the country that that was number one is an African nation, Rwanda. Rwanda is considered the best nation in the world. I don't care if you go to Europe. I don't care where you go. But this African nation is the best in the world. It's the cleanest. You cannot find a piece of dirt, a cloth on the floor, or a piece of paper on the floor. So you cannot tell me that Africa cannot be what it's supposed to be. So the issue is the leadership. Those who lead with spirit, those who have a vision, those who don't lead for themselves, but those who lead for the benefit of society. All right? Those are the people that create the kind of country that Rwanda has become. Remember about Rwanda. Rwanda, they had that they had ethnic cleansing at one point that happened in the 80s, but they bounced back because of their leader. Because the leader realizes that we can't do it as individuals. We can't be Rwanda for the Tutsis or just for the Hutus. It has to be one Rwanda, to the extent now that they don't see themselves as different cultures, but as one. And that's what we must look at. What is the leader saying? What are the leaders saying? How are they motivating the people to come together and work as one? There's an African proverb that I want to share, and I want you guys to speak on that. This African proverb says, if the townspeople are happy, look for the chief. Let me say that again. If the townspeople are happy, look for the chief. This is a Liberian proverb. Judy, your thoughts specifically on that. You got 3 minutes.
That statement is so true, and it's part of African culture. Whether you're Igbo, Yoruba, Zulu, it doesn't really matter. It's part of the core of being an African. We have all these different tribes in Africa, but we have a central core. And that central core is communal thinking. The community comes first before the individual. There's also another saying that is universal. A happy wife is a happy home. If the citizens are happy, the nation is whole. If the citizens are happy, the leadership is wealthy. You don't have to have money in the bank. If the citizens are happy with your leadership, you could go anywhere and eat for free. You could sleep anywhere. If anybody touches a hair on your head, they will pay the ultimate price. Communal thinking and communal responsibility is African spiritual way of doing business. Right now in Africa, what you see, except in Rwanda, of course, and some other countries that are trying to get themselves together like Senegal, is the blind leading the blind. The leadership comes from the top. The top is taken care of first, you know, Reaganomics, trickle-down economics. That's what we practice in Africa. Enrich those at the top, and whatever falls down, the citizens get to.
The citizens, that's right.
For themselves, for the scraps that they get.
That's right.
As opposed to bottom up. I was listening to people in the South here.
You got 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Yeah, and they were doing a commercial about labor unions, and the commercial was trying to get the citizens, the Republicans, trying to get workers not to join labor unions because labor unions are destroying America. But they fail to understand that all the benefits that you have as an employee in America, your medical benefits, your 401k plans, all these benefits that you enjoy as a worker, you're enjoying it because of labor unions. That's why you have the benefit. Without labor unions, if you listen to the Republicans, you will have no benefits. All the decision is going to be at the top, and nothing trickles down to you. It's the same kind of mentality that we have in Africa, where we think that leadership is at the top. It is not. It is at the bottom. It is the people that are responsible for what kind of leadership they end up with. If you demand better, you're going to get better. If you focus inward and listen to your primordial core, have a Pan-African mindset where cultural consistency, environmental laws, educational excellence, community empowerment and economic development is paramount, I have no doubt in my mind that we will get to the promised land. But until we understand that we are responsible for the leadership that we have and that we have a right to demand better, we will never get the kind of leadership that Rwanda ended up with.
That's right. That's right. Good point. Good point. Now, before I have another comment I want to make, and I want the Ajamus to respond to that, then I will go to what I want, another one for Dibia Chiedozie. Okay. But before I do that, I have a short commercial, if I may. And it's by my very favorite nephew. And he's just a sweetheart. He's really, I'm telling you, he's really doing
my everything. Son, by the way.
Yes.
I had to throw that in there.
I just, he has a message for everyone who's watching.
Undewo. Long life to y'all. Hey, how y'all doing, man? You know what I'm saying? I'm just walking out here in nature, and I just felt like I had to say thank you all for showing us the support. Because I know there's been technical problems and been a lot of things going on in the world, but y'all stay and tune in every Sunday. And I much appreciate y'all for all the support. Over 11,000. I said 11,000. 111 subs on YouTube. So much love. Appreciate y'all. And I know there's over like thousands over in Facebook. But make sure to tune into our YouTube every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Turn on the post notifications. Like, comment, subscribe. Gosh. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. It will be much appreciated. And y'all have a wonderful day and have a blessed day. God bless you.
God bless you, my darling. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. He's now our commercial person, our spokesperson. So we really appreciate him. He's doing such a marvelous job. Now, I wanted to share this. This is a Tanzanian proverb, and it says, with many captains, the ship does not sail properly. These are spiritual proverbs for leaders. They're directed to leaders so that they understand expectations for them. I want the Ajamus to comment on this particular one.
Oh, would you like? Okay. You said
any one of
proverb with many captains, the ship cannot sail.
That's what it's proverb? Yeah, with many captains, the ship does not sail.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is the problem with many of us in our community, is that we have too many people that want to be the captain. And I mean, rightfully so, because for so long we've been under the rule of Europeans, and we're still under the rule of Europeans we're enslaved in our mind and our religions and things like that. And so the thing is, we are wanting to, because we've been out of power for so long, or feeling as if we are out of power for so long, everyone strives to be the leader. Everyone wants to be the captain. But you know, not understanding that we're still, even if you appear to be the captain, you're still not the captain, because we have not been able to renew our minds and be able to have a concept that, you know, of who we really are as African people. So, you know, many of us just want to be the captain. We want to be the right, really it's not the captain, because it's the right hand man of someone that's larger, and usually that's a person that is the European culture. And so that's how I kind of look at it.
Thank you. Thank you so
much.
Can
I say something right quick? Can I say something right quick, and then we'll
come back to you. I'll come back to you. Let Ashiki.
Well, what I see is a few things, like the first like the video that you showed us with the transformer and things like that. As I saw, was the integration of other people's systems integrated into our systems, and then we're not separating them. We've integrated the European systems into even our spirituality, that we're saying things that has nothing to do with the electrical power grid that they put together, and we're going there praying for that. So that's one thing that you will never see Europeans do. because they separated their belief system to their reality. So that's one thing that's been separated. And then when it comes to the leadership, we have to understand that in our culture, leaders were made by our people. And when we're looking at politicians, who's making those people? These people just run up and then say, cast a vote. So these people are made by our people, and they don't represent you because you don't even know them. You ask who are these people in your community? No one in your community knows them. So that's what we have to look at. Where are these people coming from? And if it's not your people that's up there, then it's someone else's people that is up there to control you. Because in this world, we're taught that, let's just say in America, we're taught that we are, as Black people, the minority. But in reality, we as a people in America are a part of the majority, as well as globally. Black people are the majority of the world before we were colonized and given those names, because Nigeria is not an African name made by African people.
That's right.
Yeah, true that.
Everything that deals with Africa is from African people. It's all brought by outsiders. So what we have to do is kick the outsider mentality out and get back to our roots. And that's when we have a real standing strong tree. And that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Agreed.
Thank you. You had something you wanted to add.
Yeah, just real briefly important, because I know we have to go back to our main lecture today. Nnamdi said Jesus was a carpenter. So unless he suddenly became an electrician before he got strung up on the cross, you can't ask a carpenter to fix your electric issues, right? Okay, so that's humor. But something very important, and I just want to write off what Dr. Simona said. We have a problem in our African communities. And for those of us that claim to be woke, for those of us that claim that we understand what was done to us, via colonization and slavery, those of us that claim that we are fighting for the collective frustrations of people of African ancestry, stop that already. We have a problem. And it's bound on one saying. I think it's universal anyway. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Right? Heaven is so beautiful, it's so good, oh my God, the pearl gates and the gold gates and the apples fall from it, whatever. But you got to die to get there. Right. We all want great leadership, but we don't want to do what's necessary to get there. Yes. Too many kings and no subjects. The African diaspora movement, the movement diaspora of Africans, the arise of Africans under the table. Under the table, arise of Africans. They boom and they bow. They bang and they bang. But somehow, with this knowledge of what happened to Africa that we claim to have, we don't understand leadership. We don't understand that we have to now come together, lend our voices, bring our expertise, bring our understanding to the fore. I want a pot of soup. Well, here's African diaspora, blah, blah, blah. That's the okra. Here's the arise Africans under the table. That's the water.
Yes.
Here's the this, here's the that. That's the pepper, that's the salt. But in the end, you need what? The most important ingredient in making your food is the pot.
Yes.
Yes.
And then when you put all these people in the pot, guess what else that is more important than anything else? It's more important than the pot. The cook.
Yeah.
The person who got to cook the food and stir it and then serve it to you and you eat it and you go, hot damn, man, this stuff is good. This is what we haven't understood as people of African ancestry. So I don't want to hear about all this woke this and woke that. I don't care. What I want to know is, how do we come together under one voice? How do we bring our common consciousness, our commonality together to strike a mighty blow. It's like my fist. If I'm going into a fight, I'm not going in there slapping people around. But if I bring this finger, my hands together, like Maya Angelou said, I'm going to strike a mighty blow.
Yes,
and
that's
until
right.
we do that,
That's right.
we're just whistling Dixie. I'm sorry.
That's right. You know what? Thank you. And you know what? Let us just add just this little comment. If you have a good king, this is an Ashanti proverb. It says, when a king has good counselors, his reign is peaceful. So these leaders must be careful who they put around them.
Yes.
Rwanda, and I'm not trying to be sexist here, but I'm gonna keep it real. Rwanda, almost every ministry is headed by a woman. Almost every ministry is headed by a woman, because the women are less likely to try and overthrow you. They're more likely to focus on what's good for the society. I'm not saying all of the men are, that's not what I'm saying. Many good men are there. But he is successful because he is surrounded by people who care about what happens to the future generations of Rwanda, their children, the women, the mothers.
Yes.
So if you want to be successful, don't put around you the yes people. Put around you those people who really understand, who share your vision and understand that this is not about them. It's about the society they're trying to create. It's absolutely imperative that a leader, and like I said, that's an Ashanti proverb. When a king has good counselors, his reign is peaceful and certainly successful. That's what's happening in Rwanda. Even the head of the military, is a woman. This guy, he surrounded himself with women. Not because women are yes people, but because these women are very much focused on the good of the society.
Yes.
So you got to be careful. Don't make promises you're not going to keep. If you surround yourself with the wrong people who spiritually are not connected to the needs, to communal living, communality is very important. And that's what many of these women bring to the table. Now I want to ask Dibia Chiedozie to brief us on the importance of preparing. Many leaders are prepared. It just doesn't happen because all of us learn from people. But many leaders are prepared before they can really become very effective leaders. And he sent me this beautiful article, and I read, and I thought he should share it with you. Ulo ka esi ama mma apụezi. Ulo ka esi ama mma apụezi. That means that we look good we look good from inside before we can showcase it publicly. So Chiedozie, could you please talk about that article? I found it very impressive, and thank you very much for sharing it. Go for it.
Yeah, thank you so much. In actual fact, there are all these things are interconnected. From Owezuoke to Agogeto Bilibea to Ulokesha Mama Pueji. Then all of these begin with self-knowledge, to family knowledge, to communal knowledge, to knowledge of other people, and knowledge of the cosmos in relation to the self, to the family, to the community, and the town. That is to say, the African is never trained to think of I and I alone, but is trained to think of I in connection with the extended others. Mind my expression, extended others. So the self is extended. The self is not just myself alone. The self is myself and my wife, myself, my family, myself, my parents, myself, my people, my community, myself, my family, the community, other people, the cosmic. So for the African, crime extends beyond hurting other human beings. It includes hurting the earth. It includes hurting the community. It includes hurting the cosmic forces. So there are levels of circles here, or dynamisms. You have what you call first the duality, and the duality is that the typology is to explain that it is I connected to the past, those who are dead, and the future, children who are yet to be born. Now, meaning that I is sitting here on the typological triangular dimension, I am a middle line between those who are gone and those who are coming. So I have to keep the society for all of these people, because society is not just for those of us living today. It includes those who are gone, the ancestors, and those who are coming, the unborn children. And we are just here holding forth for them. That's the typological dimension. Then you have this typological dimension also, that means the cyclical dimension. The cyclical dimension is at every point on the cycle, the circumference is interconnected. Whatever you do, you will always come back there. You can never initiate any act, good or bad, without reaping from it. That's a cyclical dimension. Then you have the hierarchical dimension. Things must follow hierarchy. And so we must know that at the apex is chukwu Chineke, followed by the divinities. And then there are layers and grades of divinities. Then all the human beings in the middle. Then you have the earth, you have the ancestors, and so on and so forth. Even the minerals of the soils are taken care of. They are taken note of. They contribute to our being. Now, the concept of Ulokesha Mamapweji is meant to bring out the beauty in the human being, because the training of the human being takes place in the home, in the family. So for the African, education begins from the family. You don't bequeath the upbringing of the children to the schools. That is what we have done today. And I always say, a child not brought up in the home by the parents, they are not your children. When other people bring up children for you, you are not the owner of those children. You cannot signal any code for them to understand. You can't make a face for them to understand. Everything have to be in the book. So if we don't read it in the book, we don't know it. But if we bring up our children in the home, they know every nook and cranny of our innuendos, our jokes, our folklores, our tales. Even when we wink, they know what it means. Even when I laugh, I'm in pain, they know what I mean. All right? And so it's a process of dialectics, of adaptation. Now that it has to do with character of formation, of who the human being is to self in relation to others. And these others are extended. And so there are 3 stages here. The first, and these 3 stages are, stage 1 is 7 years, stage 2 is another 7 years, and stage 3 is another 7 years. There are actually 4 stages, but I choose to discuss 3. The first stage is the stage of self-formation. And the state of self-formation for us Africans, what makes you a human being is the culture. Because an uncultured human being is worse than an animal. Animals will not kill and eat themselves, but an untrained human being will kill and eat of others. Or let me correct myself, because even animals, if they are not trained by other animals, they can eat up themselves. That example, I think I cited one time, elephants that are harvested when they were young, brought up in the zoo, and they became very robust and big. They were taken back to the forest. They started destroying the vegetation and killing other elephants and other animals recklessly. They had to take them back to mother elephant in the zoo, who trained them. And they took them 6 months later, they took them back to the jungle, and these elephants could communicate with other elephants and live in harmony with nature. That shows that every animal also have their own training, just like us human beings. So what makes an elephant is that fellow elephants inculcate their training into them. If not, they are not going to be elephants. So if it is like that with animals, how much more us human beings. So what makes a child of I, Okoro, a member of my family, is the way I have brought up that child in a family, But the family is a microcosm of the community. The community is a microcosm of the town, of the society. The society is a microcosm of the cosmos. So I bring up my child in the home to realize self. That is why we have this issue of Alpha divination, the issue of Ikenga. Everybody knowing his own personal divinity. That's why you have the concept of Chi, Onwe, concept of Onwe consisting of Eke, Ago, and Chi. The individual must be brought up to understand self in tandem with members of the family, members of the community, members of the town, the cosmic. So it's extended. So the first stage of formation is that the child must be made to realize who the child is. Onyekambo. That's why you have names like Chimamanda, Ikemefuna. These are names defining the personality of the human being. But the human being is no human being if you cannot live in harmony with others. Stage 2 is the stage of obedience, whereby the child is taught all the virtues of the societies, obedience, loyalty, silence, and so on and so forth. It is actually at this stage, because at this stage, from the age of 10, 11, basically 12, they begin to initiate them into 8th grades. At the 8th grade, you begin to learn the rudiments of the society, and then you begin from the 8th grade, begin to join the guilds. So at the 3rd level, the 7th level of self-reliance. At that level, the child is already 14. All right, and from 14, they begin to teach them about self-reliance. By that time, they have initiated them, begin to teach them about self-reliance. Self-reliance is not that I alone am the island. Self-reliance is that I alone in harmony with others. The principle of Uwezuoke, anchored on the principle of conscience, Nkurunkobi. So that self-sufficiency is that what I have, others don't have, I share. We share. And when we learn how to share, like Fela will say, buy Africa. If we no buy, we no sell ourselves. Who go sell us? Who go buy us? So we learn how to share, how to buy. And so in the camps, the male children are taught the function of the males in the society, what the role of the male is in the society, defense of the society, making sure the society is defended internally and externally, making sure that the male jobs are done. And in the camp too, the female children are taught the function of the female, that the ultimate function of the female is motherhood, and the ultimate function of the male is fatherhood. So the father must keep the family. The father must fend for the family, keep the family intact. The mother must hold the family together. So when you see women in Rwanda performing that role, the man simply has gone back to the African culture to dig up, because women are brought up to have a motherly heart. And that's the whole essence of an extended family. Extended family is that no one single individual can successfully bring up a child. So you find that in the community, in some, every home provides the child with parenting, which is why we say in Igbo, I remember those days when my mother used to go to Ukanwa. When children are born, you need to have to go to Ukanwa, the church, and then you sing about the new babe. You say, everybody is happy. So today, we think that the child belongs to only me. But in the African community, a child is a child of everybody. That you belong to a home. But every other home makes sure that you are not to shake. You have no escape route. Anywhere you go, you encounter parenting. I think that's exactly, and this, you can see the dialectics. The dialectics is that I must start from myself, understand who I am, in connection with members of the family, the kindred, then the clan, the community, in relation to the cosmos. And then when I move out of my home, I encounter a world larger than my home, because I have mastered something about myself and about my home. I always come back to my home to report. And then my parents advised me how I should deal with that which is out there. And then I also advised myself about how I should deal with the world outside me. So it's a dialectics of adaptation, transformation. So to summarize, I think a verse of Ifa says the cradle, the mind is the cradle, the individual is the cradle, the family is the cradle, the society is the cradle. For those who understand themselves, they understand themselves and they become chosen leaders. For those who don't understand themselves, the family helps them to understand themselves. For those who themselves and family cannot make to understand themselves, the societal institutions help them to understand themselves. When you miss out of these three, then you are a useless human being. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. I love it. I love it. You know what? Before the rest of you make a comment about this, I just want to read something that Akachi Azubike, one of the members, has written here. It says that the West refers to Rwanda as a dictatorship rather than a monarchy to slant its characterization of Paul Kagame. However, the trajectory of the Rwandan government appears to move its economy towards growth and development. And she asked, should African nations return to hybridized indigenous political structure? I think that what Chiedozie has shared really touches upon what she has shared here, the question that she had. Let me ask Yudi, what are your thoughts about should African nations return to hybridized indigenous political structure? And then I'll ask the rest of you to comment on that.
Well, for me,
yeah. Oh, hold on. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you listen to what Dr. Chidozie said, you know, you get ready, you get yourself all dolled up and everything. First thing you do is you look in the mirror, see how you look. And if you look good, then you step out of there. And for the most part, when you step out of there, people are going to concur with your vision of yourself before you stepped out. What's going on in Rwanda and the way the leadership is characterized is just foreigners, the colonialists, being upset that we have, at least as far as Rwanda is concerned, have found themselves and are no longer dependent on them for their survival, right? The idea of Stockholm syndrome doesn't exist anymore in Rwanda. They're not like Congo. They're not like a whole lot of African countries and communities in the world that praise the same religion that justified their enslavement in the first place. He's not going to be the last person that is going to be slandered, even by Europeans. Mugabe, even though his leadership, as far as Rwanda is Mozambique, Zimbabwe is concerned, was a little wanting because there wasn't a whole lot of economic development going on. But I can also assure you that it was just not about mismanagement, but it was also about the policy of the nations that he challenged, right? Just like Haiti, to make sure that Zimbabwe is not developing, rapidly to justify the words of Mugabe, okay? What you see is the same thing that happened to Malcolm X when he talked about who taught you to hate, when he talked about why these people are responsible for the condition that we are in the first place. He was also ostracized. Some leaders in Africa get assassinated, from Patrice Lumumba to Kwame Nkrumah, who was deposed while he was outside the country, to people like the South African freedom fighter, Stephen Biko. It's a choice between being called a dictator, being told that what you're trying to do for your people has negative consequences for them, not for your people, because your people are happy. It's a choice between being talked about or being killed or assassinated. I'd rather you talk about me so that I could continue the work that I need to do for my people so that they could rise again. So when you hear Europeans talk about African leaders who are actually doing something good for their people, Rollins of Ghana was talked about. The Americans talked about him. The Europeans talked about him, but he did for his people. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. Africans are bad leaders. Africans don't know how to take care of their people. Africans don't know how to take care of infrastructure. At the same time, they're doing everything to make sure that you don't have the ability to do it by propping up leaders that are working for them and subjugating their own people to all kinds of wicked, inefficient ways of governance.
Yes.
So it's not a surprise. You can talk about him all you want to, but as long as you allow this man to continue to lead, to continue to surround himself with people that are going to help him to surround himself and cook that beautiful pot of soup with all the right ingredients so that it tastes good, as long as you leave him alive, you can say whatever the heck you want to say about him, just don't assassinate him like you've done a whole lot of all other African leaders that were trying to do for their people. That's what I think.
Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. I want the Jamus to comment about that. The question that Akachi had asked, and certainly what UD has said.
Okay. Yes. I believe what was presented is very important. At the same time, what I see too is that Uganda is going back to what Uganda was, and meaning to say that yes, they have different factions in terms of tribes, but I think the understanding of who we are as a people, what I mean by that is how when the Europeans met us, we were a people of craft and trade. So that's what we brought to the table. What the Europeans have done now, if they've realized if I take their craft and their trade away from them, then they're not of use. And now we have to start from the beginning again. And now we build ourselves to get the crafts and trades to develop our countries, because Africa had no problem with Africa was great before the Europeans and other fashions came down and brought in their lifestyles, because Africa was thriving when Europe was in its dark age. Africa was in its golden age continentally. So that's what we have to get back to, get rid of what they've given us and go back to who we truly are. We built the world. When you look at who we are, we built the world with our crafts and our skills and our trades. That's why these Europeans came to Africa. But now if we come back to give that back into Africa, then imagine what the Africa will develop to be from what she said, because there is one people, one family, one people, and that's us. And once we realize that, then we'll start developing ourselves of who we truly are.
That's right. Excellent. And Dr. Simona, would like to add to that?
Yes, I totally agree. And see, we have to model, Uganda should be a model for all of African and the world, you know, and what it comes down to again is us coming together in unity and being able to appreciate who we are as Africans, not Europeans. So we have to be able to be Africans and be progressive in being Africans. There's nothing wrong with taking on technology or whatever is the modern thing, but we still keep our African culture. We still keep our African traditions, because that is what is going to make us powerful. It was just like Uncle Chidozie was just saying, he was talking about the family and how everything is coming out of the family. But it's the problem is when our families are not teaching how to be African and teaching and striving to teach your children how to be more European. That is going to be a problem because you're not European. You do have a rich, beautiful culture that can bring pride to your family and doing things as we have done things as African people, and that will give us the confidence and give us the, lead us in the right direction of building together in community. But community starts in the family. So when we start to go towards having African households, teaching our children to go in an African way, opposed to striving for the European way of life, and that being superior over the African way and our traditions that has worked for so many years. We have to go back to that. And so Rwanda, it seems as if they are embracing their culture, but they are also being progressive in the modern things. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right. Being progressive, having a good society is not being European. It's being African. It's to have African families. And every time we're doing something good, just like Rwanda, they want to kill our leaders. You just like my husband was saying, we are such a talented people. When you look at all of the statues and everything that has been built, the mosque, all of the things that have been built that people think is so great, guess who built those things? We did.
That's right.
We built those things. It comes from our talent. We have to understand who we are and our greatness, and of European being great. We are great as we are.
That's right. That's right. Appreciating ourselves will help us become good citizens of the country instead of trying to be like somebody else. Yes. And then we need to incorporate, our leaders need to incorporate African spirituality. Some of these proverbs, the best teachers are these proverbs. They need to incorporate it. It needs to become part of their vocabulary and consciousness. Madubuchibe, we are God to each other. If we treat each other well, then we are respecting and honoring God. If what you seek, so shall you find. Whatever it is that we are looking for, we can find it, but we have to not just do it in a way that even our citizens don't understand. And people don't understand all these things we throw at them, because we're like trying to be like Joneses. It's like somebody going out here buying this big house. You can't afford the house. Eventually they'll kick you out. It's the same thing. Don't be what you're not.
Yes.
Live within your means, and sometimes within your spiritual means. When you come together, you can stomp out. You didn't take this. What is that?
It's this little bitty. It hops. It's an insect.
Yeah, but if all, or just you trying to catch it on your own, you're not be able to.
Yeah.
If all of us put our feet together, we will stomp on it.
Yep.
And we should stop being so scared. I'm sorry. We are the most scared people in the world.
Yes.
We are so afraid to speak up. Everybody else speaks up. But we are afraid to speak up. But again, it is going back to your spirituality. Monachiso. That's power. Yes. I am one with the Creator.
Yeah.
You need to know how to say that. Monachiso.
Monachiso.
Monachiso. I am one with God.
Yeah.
And if you're one with the Creator, why should you be afraid of another human being?
Right. Yep.
Why should you be afraid of another human? But we have been we're so meek as a people. We're so meek. We're so afraid we don't want to make waves. Oh, you're too radical. If you speak on behalf of your people, you're too radical. Soften it. But you're not, speaking on behalf of African people is not being radical. It's called self-preservation. I encourage every race in this world to speak on behalf of their people.
True.
I encourage that. That's survival. The world is a Serengeti, and I say it all the time. If you do not want to be eaten, you must be as fierce as the rest of them, so they'll leave you alone. What is this? There's an animal that the lions can take it down quite easily, but they can't stand it. Number one,
hyena. Hyena.
Yes. Yeah. And it makes a lot of noise. They just can't stand the thing. So they try as much as possible to stay clear. But it makes so much noise and it never walks on its own. It always has a pack.
Yeah.
The hyena comes as a pack, and they're not scared. They are not scared. They say, "Come on with it, come on."
Right.
Lion King.
The rest of us, we choose to be like the antelope that says, "Where's it coming from? And then, you're easily taken down. So anyway, I'll have all of you. This was supposed to be a one-hour show, but I do want to add before you say something. I do want to share something that Namdi had shared. They said that they did the same with Gaddafi when he moved towards a financially independent continent. The objective to project a dysfunctional image of a nation not developed through direct Western influence guidance is the West's main tool. They are propagandists. As a continent in general, we would have to do just as Rwanda has done. But us as a nation would have to abandon Western Abrahamic influences on a spiritual and political level. But that's not a gripe. That's not a grip most of us are willing to let go easily.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, the guy Nnamdi just put it in a nutshell. As a matter of fact, the whole conversation that we're having right now, past conversations that we've had, future conversations that we're going to have, is predicated on this premise. It's predicated on the premise of Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Stephen Biko, Kagame of Rwanda, Ahaike Oke Onyoha, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Mazi Mbonu Ojike, and a host of other great African leaders. It is on this specific premise of being African-centered in our thinking, African-centered in everything that we do, because when Europeans are doing their things, they're Europe-centric in what they do. When the Japanese are doing what they do, they're Japanese-centric or Asia-centric. When the Chinese are doing their thing, they're being Chinese. They're being who they are based on their primordial core for development. And we must do the same. This is not a song that is new. That is not something that other nations haven't done since the dawn of history. It is just part of nation formation, nation building, and nation management. It is nothing new. But I just wanted to add something to kind of summarize what you guys have all said. When I was growing up as a child, in school, even in the house, because the neighbors are doing it, I learned about Hansel and Gretel. I learned about Sleeping Beauty.
Right.
I learned about Rapunzel. I learned about Jack and the Beanstalk. I learned about these things and a host of others reading Eurocentric books that were used in Africa to colonize our minds into seeing ourselves and articulating our understanding of how the world really works based on their folklore, their fairy tales. When I was growing up, nobody was telling me about, well, except in my household, my parents. But I didn't get that in school, and I didn't get it in the neighborhood. Nobody told me that Mother Buchibe. Nobody told me that Anna Mama Nulo Outwazy. Nobody told me the folk tale unless I get it in the village, but it was never official. Nobody told me about the monkey and the crocodile. When the monkey was trying to cross the river, I got it in the village. I got it from my cousins, I got it from my mama, I got it from my daddy, but I didn't get it as an official part of my education when I went to this Eurocentric schools.
Yes.
But any book that I could buy that was talking about African proverbs, That was talking about anything that has to do with my cultural well-being. I didn't get it in any official school. I got it in the household. I got it from my sisters that were older than I am. I got it from my older cousins. I got it from my uncles, my aunts. I got it from those people, but never got it officially. Yeah. So part of being African-centered in our governance, in the educational system, is to take proposal and Jack and the Beanstalk and Goldilocks and the Three Bears and replace it with African proverbs and folklore as an official part of our educational system. If we can do that, we'll go a long way in trying to raise a generation of African-centered thinkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I just want to share what Kafani Kwame Anu said, and that's a Bantu proverb. He says, when a man finally realizes the fullness of this universe, all his books will be full. That's a good one. Dibia Chedozie, you want to add to that? You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to contribute to this Rwanda talk. One, for a nation like Rwanda that came from crisis, ethnic purging, to stability, they need someone like Kagame, who will use his knowledge, his wisdom and knowledge to prune things to shape and put things together. If you look at these Western philosopher called Machiavelli, he came first with the prince before the discourse. And he came deliberately with the discourse 10 years after the prince. Why? Because in a society where corruption is endemic, you cannot practice democracy. Democracy would not be able to liberate the people, which is why they tell us to practice democracy in rotten, corrupt Africa, knowing that the legit people will never be able to empower themselves with democracy. So we need a Paul Kagame in all corrupt societies. But once they have done this, they must learn the proverb of no location mama poesie. I am not standing alone. I am standing in relation with others. But my homestead is where I radiate my beauty from. And so he has done well in building women into leadership. But the first thing he must do is that he must realize that unlike the Nkrumah, Zik, and others who went on a one-head leadership arrow, so that once that head is removed, everything is nosedive. He must create a group of authentic revolutionaries, of 100 determined people, so that even if they are going to kill one person, one leader per year, in 100 years, they will not be able to finish all the leaders in 100 years they are made. Because the principal problem we have had while African countries that built up could not continue was a one-head man leadership, whereby only that man has the knowledge and wisdom about how to put things in place. And what the colonial masters, erstwhile colonial masters did, the imperial forces did, was just dislodge the shepherd and the sheep will be in disarray. So this is what Kagame must work against. And when he does this, building a formidable group of the authentic revolutionaries who have one dream, Rwanda, Rwanda, and Rwanda in relation to other African continents, then he must begin to build his tentacles gradually to enter other African countries, to begin to realize themselves and stabilize themselves and look inwards. Because if he does not do this, it will come to a time whereby the other imperial forces will build other negative forces around him and make sure the economy collapses. That's usually been the style, the Roman way of attack. They come, they quarantine your civilization, and they don't allow any inflow or outflow. Just give 40 years at most, that civilization is dead. This is what Kagame and Rwanda must guide against. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you. I love that. I think for my part, I think that we as African people, It is not about not loving other human beings. It's a global world and we're interconnected. Yes, I get that. And we should always reach out to our fellow human beings. Yes. But it is important for self-preservation that when we know one of us is good and doing the right thing, that we support, that we give our support. We don't join foreign influences to bring them down, because really we're bringing ourselves down.
Yes.
You know, there's all these horrible things about us. If one of us or two or three of us are doing well, it shows the world, look, all that perception about us is not real. Your perception about us is not a reality, because there are things going on in our countries. There are other influences that's causing some of these countries to be where they are, where the leaders have determined that no, we're not going to succumb to foreign influences. They use the traditional way of doing things to bring up their nations. And that's what's going on in Rwanda. He's not doing anything different other than following his traditional culture.
Yes.
Okay, that's what he's doing. And there's an Igbo proverb that says, no matter how rich you become, do not leave your brother and sister behind.
Yes.
Together we build. One rich man and a poor man, it's not an even thing. You cannot brag about how rich you are when your neighbor is poor, dead poor. That doesn't make you you may be rich financially, but spiritually you're poor.
Yes.
Poor. You have to give. We have to support. We have to support our leaders who are doing well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
one more thing. There is a song. Onye ji ako lotakwa nkwa ikwere anyị, onye na-achọ ọchịchị, ndị na-achọ ọchịchị lotakwa nkwa ikwere anyị. Ikwere anyị na nkwa lotakwa okporo ụzọ ahụ, ụlọ akwụkwọ ahụ. You, the leader, when you were running for office, you told us you want to do these things. We believed you. Remember the road that you promised? It's still bad. Remember the schools you promised? It's still bad. If we can come and remind you that the promises that you made have not been met, you're not a good leader.
Yes.
I don't care how much money you share around. One more thing. They had a video. I tried to find it so I can share it today. This video is showing truckloads of bags of money being given away to politicians. Being given away. Where's that money coming from? It's the people's money given to delegates to support a particular presidential aspirant. And you got children who were in a classroom knee deep in water, reciting Nigerian pledge. What?
No self-love.
The bags of money, the bags of millions of naira being given to individuals, and yet children have no school. Leadership has to come from the heart. It's not about you. It's about those promises. Remember the promises you made. If I keep reminding you, you're not a good leader. If you can't keep your promise, you're not a good leader. And that's why people will say, Chineke will punish you for making a promise that you can't keep. You don't want people to ever say that about you as a leader. Ashiki, you have something?
Yes, and that is important, because that's my whole problem with the leadership of Africa. When we're saying continental, when we're saying what has been done to us, how they've destroyed our truth and gave us his story. And that's the problem. And then they need to give Africa back its wealth that they are holding in their museums. That is a problem. We don't even have our own cultural things because they stole them and put them in their museums, which is which is the truth of who we are, because when you look at the statues and the artwork, those are stories of what was going on in the kingdoms, and they've taken that away and turned it into art. But these things aren't art. These things are actually our stories that are made by the kingdoms for our people. And that's what they've taken away from us. They've taken away who you truly are, and they replaced us with their politicians. They replaced us with their ideology. Absolutely. They've replaced it. And that's where we have to come at, because it comes down to us as a people to say, like, well, you know, I'm not going to vote. That's going to show how the system is rigged and how they have taken over, and everything that they've done has to be exposed. And that's what we have to come back to as a people, of our true reality of saying, if we want difference, we're going to have to make the difference and not vote for these criminals. And like, the truth is, I'll be honest, I don't condone violence, but I'll tell you one thing. I remember it was a time when I was growing up, if you're not a right person, the whole community is going to come after you and get you out. And if you're not doing right, the whole community will come down on you. As I was a child, as you, my auntie, it would be no way that you can't tell me something and I won't do it. Because, you know, you would tell my mother, you would tell my father, you would tell everybody what I've done. And then I have to deal with them too. That's what it's going to, that we're not dealing with our people. We're letting them get away with this. And now we have to say, you know what, enough. I will beat you up in the street if I see you, if you're not doing my people right. And that's what we got to get back to. Without just saying, we got to get back to our people getting treated right by our people.
Yes.
You know? And that's what I stand for.
That's very true. That is wonderful. Yudi, you seem like you have a comment you want to make. You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, I said everybody is on point, and it's overwhelming, you know, to take it all in, and it's difficult to even, you know, put your hand on a specific opinion that has been offered here in this program. To be honest with you, like the gentleman had mentioned, you know, a few moments ago, some of the conflict, and also one of the comments that was I was reading here that talked about the fact that maybe Rwanda needed to go through what it did with the Hutu and Tutsi genocide to be able to find itself. And as cruel as that is, it's actually a true statement. If you look at the human history, you will find that there's been tragedies or revolutions that involve the loss of countless of lives, right? For changes to be made and for things to be straightened out. You look at World War II, although history always seems to repeat itself, I don't believe that World War II is the last world war that we're going to have. And I think with the Russian conflict, if it's not being managed very well between Russia and Ukraine, it may result in that. It's already a form of world war because the allies of Putin and also allies of Ukraine are two opposing forces, you know, that have come to a head. And it's just a matter of time before this one is straightened out too. So as painful as it sounds, what happened in Rwanda was a catalyst for change, really, because it allowed them to look inward. You got to look good before you go outside. That happened. Nigeria had a conflict that you would have thought that would have straightened it out, the Nigerian-Biafran Civil War. But unfortunately, politically speaking, and as far as marginalization is concerned, it made things even worse. It didn't change anything, right? But in the end, there's really one culprit here, beyond the fact that Africans were enslaved and we were colonized. Religion is our problem. Because everything we're based on, you know, people tell you separation of church and state, that's a bunch of hogwash.
It is.
In America, same thing too. Religion is controlling the politics of this country.
Yeah.
Religion is controlling the idea of racism, tribalism, us against them. They define who the good guy is and who the bad guy is. And the bad guy is anybody that is not singing or does not adhere to what it is that you're trying to force upon them is the bad guy.
Yes.
We are the bad guy because we're speaking up.
Yes.
But we're not the bad guy. We're the good guys. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian, and I will never adhere to Christianism. But I am Jesus Christ. We are Jesus. We're the ones telling the Jews and the Romans, hey, man, y'all are neglecting the little guy. We're the ones telling the truth. We have to understand that speaking up and trying to say the right things or hit the right notes or come up with the right ideas about nation formation is the same thing everybody else and every great civilization has done, from Genghis Khan to the Roman civilization to Mesopotamia to Egypt to the Mayans in South America to the Olmec Empire to the shoguns of Japan and the Khans of China. Every nation in this world that wants to have a government that is cohesive, does for its people, builds its wealth and economic opulence, is involved in nation formation, nation building after you form the nation, and then nation management to manage the nation and the resources. Everybody does it. Why shouldn't Black folks do it on a global scale? Why shouldn't the African American have the same mindset? Why shouldn't the Jamaicans and the Africans in the Indies have the same mindset? Why shouldn't the Africans on the continent have the same mindset? Nation formation, building, and management is your right as a human being. And you shouldn't apologize for any effort that is geared into making that a reality for all African communities globally.
Yes, yes.
That's the way I see it. So we should just stop holding back our opinions about what we need to do.
That's right.
To make Africa great. We should become part of this cauldron of soup that tastes so good once it's cooked and it's done, so that we could partake in this feast.
That's right.
Yes, yes.
That's right. So it is. So it is. You did. That was awesome. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Chiedozie. You have a comment, it seems like.
Did you? Okay. My little take in all of these is simple. We've repeatedly talked about rediscovering Africa from the rubrics of its past. And so for us to do this and do it appropriately, we must continue with this particular program, intensify it, bring genres from other African countries.
Yes.
Like I can see one Anu, his comments have been very powerful. His comments have been very powerful.
Yes.
One Nnamdi Osimiri, his comments are very powerful, have been very, very powerful. I think sometimes too, beyond just the regulars of us here, we should bring in some other people intermittently, if possible, to air their view. But I think SNY is doing it well by letting us read some of these comments. I say kudos. We cannot say all things one time, like Okot Bitek would say. If we say all that we need to say, how much more would we have left to say? I think I am just waiting when we begin to put structures on ground, because when we now start putting structures on ground, these structures on ground don't have to be the ground like we're doing now. The institutions can be online. Once they are online, what we are training is the mind. The ground we are talking about is the mind. And as we are doing this program, we are training a lot of minds, but we need places whereby these minds can be groomed, and we group them consistently with a program. And I think SNY is coming up with something, and today you're coming up with something that we are going to build more on that. So we need more of that, practical things. And like we said, we need to rally around these efforts. Because what I see that SNY Uday and the Chiism institution is trying to do is provide a ground for any African in Africa diaspora to come and school. And when you school, you can go and start your own. We are not against that. And that's why we're talking about, instead of everybody wanting to be captain, king, bring your ego down, swallow your ego, come down for your high horses. Come down for your high horses. Bring your head down low. Learn. Learning is a process. And the day we stop learning, we are no longer alive. So let's ignite the system. And let's talk more of this. Let's go on ahead and let us facilitate the process, support the process by every means possible we can. And then before we know it, in a matter of just a few years, we'll have discovered how much mileage we have done. Thank you.
That is beautiful. Yes.
You know, the university, I've gotten individuals who are interested in registering for the university. Registration starts in August. We're working diligently to set everything up. The mission of Chiism University is to promote African cultural and spiritual preservation, inculcate quality leadership and academic excellence, okay, through a unique approach to cultural advocacy. We want to be advocates of our culture. We want to provide students with rigorous academic support and community outreach. We don't want to train, like I said earlier, we don't want individuals that will come and go and work for the Europeans or work for anybody else. All right. You have your regular jobs that you do with them, and you go to their schools so that you can go, you can do their work or whatever that is. But if you want to be a true African, if you want to benefit your own society, you attend Chiism University, because this is where you learn what you need to learn so that you can be of service to your society, to your community, even if it's approved by them or not, because it's not about anybody but us. It's approved by us. And we learn what we learn from the best and use what we learn to benefit our own people. And that is what we're trying to do. So when Dibia Chiedozie talks about institutions, that is what we're establishing, and we're very excited about it. We're working diligently to put everything in place so that come August, you all start registering and we start. We don't care if there's one student in the class, okay? We don't care. The thing is that you will have the teachers to teach you.
Little drops of water.
Just to teach you what you need to know as African people and what you need to use to go into your communities and make a difference. You know, my grandfather said to my father, I'm not sending you to school so that you can learn how to be European. I'm sending you to school so you can come out to be a proud African man that I can be proud of. That is what
I remember that.
That is what we're trying to create. I just want to make this statement, and then I'll give everybody else a chance to continue. The fight for our development as African people is a daily struggle. We know that. We know it's a daily struggle, but it's not something that's happened. It's not a happenstance. It's orchestrated for it to be there. It's orchestrated for it to be that way. We have the world's biggest resources. Everybody wants a piece of it.
Yes.
The passion has always been there to take the African region to a classic economy. Yes, we want to do that. We've had some really good Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Nelson Mandela. We can go on and on. Kwame Nkrumah, people who have fought to make Africa a classic economy. But their failure is not necessarily just because the African person is a failure. The failure is because of orchestrated influences that come to that continent and disrupt what the good guys are trying to do. There's some good and there's some bad. Whether or not there is the might is a question of individual responsibility. Like Chiedozie said, you have to be good from inside before you can go outside. We need to teach our children that. If our leaders learn such a thing, our future leaders learn that the beauty comes from within. it doesn't come from outside. What you are cannot come from outside. It has to come from within. Our parents have a responsibility to train these future leaders to understand that individual responsibility. It's in the sense that wherever one is, changes can always be made within that vicinity. Wherever we are, we can change things. You don't have to stay in muck. You don't have to live in lack. Just because things are not good doesn't mean we stay there. Chineke gave us the opportunity, the right, the mindset as an African people to come out of the muck. We don't have to stay in it. If you're not chuck off for, I say it over and over, what you seek, so shall you find. So what is it we're looking for? We have a responsibility ourselves to see what's going on. African people have a responsibility to take Africa, to skyrocket Africa into a perfect economy. But you cannot just expect that of your leaders. You have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to create the leadership we want from the home and take and vote for the right people. And once we vote for them, we stay on them. We're not creating kings. We want leaders that will lead for the benefit of the society, for our children.
Yes.
See, the problem seems that the management of the African continent is being marred by individuals who don't have the spiritual understanding of what leadership is. Don't leave your brothers and sisters behind. You're not rich because you're personally of what you have in the bank. You're rich because your society is rich. People around you is rich. Kigamu could have made all kinds of money for himself. Don't think people are not trying to bribe him. But he says no. He has corrected past errors. He has corrected past errors. Yeah, I'm going to sing his song. Yes, I'm going to do that. Because when you see somebody doing the right thing, we must support.
Yes.
We don't put them down. We don't go along with what other people are saying to make sure that that person doesn't succeed. And when they don't succeed, you say, oh, these Africans, they can't do this. Corruption, there's this, there's that. And yet when the good one comes, we beat them down. We beat them down. If we beat them 6 feet under, we beat it 10 more feet. Make sure to stay there. African destabilization is the goal. But we as African people, stop being so scared. Speak up. Speak up, not to the world, not to the Europeans. You know, they do what they do, not to the Asians. No, to your people. As in when you know what that proverb is?
Yeah.
When you live in a situation, you start speaking the truth. When
push comes to shove,
you speak the truth. You speak the truth. It's time for us to speak the truth. Our children are watching. Even these young people who are on this show, they are watching. What are we saying? What are we doing? We didn't just talk about Chiism. We're talking about actually setting up an institution that will go beyond talk and show them how to move from point A to point B. That's an African Igbo problem. There's no problem. The only problem is if you see the problem and you don't do anything about it.
Yes.
You know, when you have a sore, the flies come and hover around your sore, and you're chasing the sore. Just keep chasing the sore. But at some point, you got to heal that sore.
Yes.
And once the sore is healed, the flies go away. We got to heal ourselves. The sore is all of what are all these things that we say we have corruption? Yes, we have corruption. We understand that. That's the sore. That's the sore. But we got to heal the corruption. Our university is determined to show you. We talk about unhealthy environment, inadequate infrastructure. Yeah, that's the sore. We got to fix that. Who's causing that? Who's putting the money in their pocket? We've got to go after them. We have to remind them, not necessarily going after them. You got to remind them what governance is. Bad governance and political unrest It's not just what Africans do. It's all over the world. Let's be honest about that. But it's particularly crucial that Africans snap out of it. Get over this thing that, oh, we can't do any better. Kigamo has shown us that we can do better, and we must do better. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to make a very important point here, and I want young folks to listen. This has nothing really to do with the people on the panel here, because we already have the quality that I'm about to speak on. But before I do that, let me define a word, and that word is called fear. What is fear?
Yes.
Fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous and is likely to cause you pain or is a threat to you. All right? To counter fear, you must have what is called courage, which is the ability to do something about it.
Yes.
Do something about what frightens you, what causes you fear. You have to have courage. And that, my friends, I can tell you, and all the young folks out there, the people on this panel have courage. But we experience fear too. Kwame Nkrumah experienced fear. Patrice Lumumba experienced fear. Stephen Biko, Nelson Mandela, all Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, all great leaders experience fear, but they have courage to deal with it. And it is having courage that takes you from a point of despair to a bright future. We must have courage, y'all. We talk about what's being done to us, but we're letting it being done to us. We're letting somebody do it to us. We talk about the European, what they've done to us. Today, we're letting them do it to us. We talk about what the bad leaders are doing to us. Today, we're letting it happen to us. We talk about people that are not doing the right things to be able to give us a sense of opulence in everything, in infrastructure, in our economy, in our school system, a sense of economic improvement, development, minimizing depravity. We could talk about it all we want to, but then we get scared because if we say something, somebody might get mad and something may happen to us. Well, guess what? If you don't have enough courage to speak up, it will continue to happen. This is the 21st century. The African, except for Rwanda now, maybe a couple of places, South Africa, with a major influence of the European who had claimed the land. We can't even keep up with the 20th century. Now it's the 21st. Before you know it, it's the 22nd, and we're still in the gutter. We're still without the courage that we need to build the African nation. We must see ourselves as one. I don't care if you're from South Africa, you're Zulu, you're Swahili, you're Igbo, Yoruba. I don't care if you're Bantu. I don't care if you're Jamaican, you're African American, you're British, European, Black, I don't care. When a European or a Chinaman or anybody from any other race sees you, they're not asking you if you're African American. They're not asking you if you're Nigerian. They're not asking you if you're Jamaican. They know one thing only: you're Black. And they will treat you the same way, regardless of where your Blackness comes from. They don't care if you're Haitian. We, as Africans or people of African ancestry, must look at ourselves as one, suffering the same prejudices and racism, being denied the same opportunity, regardless of where we're located on this planet. We are Africans. We are one. And we must come together, exercise or exhibit a level of courage so that we all can come together and strike this blow and take back our future and determine our own destiny and what direction that we want the next generation to head up to. Get it together, people. Fear will always hold you back, but courage will set you free.
Yes.
That is true. That
Yes.
is true. I'm going to ask each one of you to have, let's see, you just have about a minute, each one of you, to close. UD has done his closure. Their Jamus, please.
Okay. I would like to first say we have to understand that, you know, we're still, I'll say it again, we're still enslaved in our mind. A lot of the places that we look at, Black nations, places in Africa, places in America, and they're Christian. They're Christian or they're Muslim or whatever, and they haven't gotten back to their spirituality, not realizing that the power lies in their African traditions, their spirituality. It lies there. You see a big church here in America, you'll see a big giant Black mega church in the middle of, you know, pretty much hell. It's hell on earth. You look around and you know, the whole neighborhood is totally, you know, just, you know, in shambles. But you have a $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, $100 million church sitting here and subscribing to a European religion. Subscribing to a European religion. The same in Africa. You're sitting here praying, you know, you know, for electricity. You know what I'm saying? For electricity, and you're looking around and everything is in shambles, everything's looking crazy, while the European is sitting there laughing at you because he knows that they have you conquered because you're praying to their God. You're not even praying to your own God. You're not even praying to a God that looks like you.
Yeah. And then I'll jump right on Uncle's frequency. Yes, people must understand that there is Europeans and white people really don't exist. That is a new concept, but Black does exist. Africa existed, and Europe really doesn't exist because they divide themselves by countries. Remember, they are British. They're not really European. We are African. And that's what people must know. We are Black and we are African, but that is recognized globally. And that is our strength and that is our power. These other people are new to the game that we've already played. And for real quick, for people to understand that they talk about Africa, they talk about Egypt, but remember, Egypt was just the gateway into Africa. White man has never been able to go into Africa until he got a gun. So that everybody remember that is his power, that is his strength, and that's why you see what they're doing today. But once we take that power and strength from them, then we're going to rise again, and that's what I say.
Thank you, thank you. He say, "Is it chair? Does it? Give your chair? Does it?"
Yeah, I want to add on to what Dibia Udemeze said about fear.
Yes.
I think the thing about fear is that when we look at today against ourselves, out of self-centeredness, of self-preservation, without care of the ideal of the future, then we are afraid to dare. But if we can move from fear to dread, dread of what is going to happen to my unborn children, I might be the weakest blood.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah, well, have we lost him?
To be the state of the Black man in the future. So whatever I am today, my slaves in the future. Then dread will push us to self-realization. Self-realization will push us to courage. Courage will push us to temperance. Because when we watch one thing I like when I watch some of the Indian soap opera is that they teach you that even you believe in God or not, for you to get something good, you must pay a price. And so somebody wants to get quick result. They pick a burning coal of about 10 feet, and you must walk barefoot on them. Now, if you are fearful and you want to preserve self, of course, you remain where you are. But if you look at the result of what your fear will cost you, dread of what is going to be the outcome of your fear, then you have to close your eye and get determined, bruised you are, that you're going to walk through and heal up soon. Then dread is what we need to conquer fear. Because fear looks at the real situation. It makes us selfish. And for that reason, we are unable to dare. But dread makes us to look at the future and what is going to be the consequences after me. My children are going to be slaves. Then I must dare, even though I am bruised. That is freedom. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I want to thank everyone for this wonderful, wonderful show today. You have been very kind. And the contributors, we had individuals on Chiism Live on Facebook page and African Spirituality on YouTube. Thank you so much for your contributions. They were very, very instructive and helpful in to some degree in channeling some of our conversations. So thank you very much. And I want to just add what Kalfani said. Every nation with a man-made God has an army. Think about that. Every nation with a man. Now that's another conversation for another show.
Yeah.
So very much. I just want to end with this, and we're a little bit over the time, and that is to remind us, all of us, that we have a syndrome that we suffer from, and that is the dependency syndrome. You know, most of our African nations seem incapable of surviving independently. So we depend on aid from all these different countries. Even though colonialism is gone, you know, most African countries are still faced with what you call neocolonialism. You know, we still depend, we're still under the control of and domination of other powerful countries. And they have power over the weaker African countries. So we need to now start being a little bit more dependent on us. You know, you don't have to be rich like the European nations to consider yourself rich. You can be rich, your heart can be rich. And if you have a rich heart, you're able to produce leaders that will care about the well-being of the people. We start from the grassroots and we build up. We can do it. Rwanda has shown us that we can build back up. We don't have to set our standards according to standards that are not ours. If we set it within our own cultural dictates and mandates, we will find that we'll become powerful. We can reenact our glorious past into the present. Having said that, I look forward to seeing all of you again next Sunday. Thank you for joining us. May God bless you, and may you all be safe wherever you go. And meanwhile, I am going to go and party. Yes, it's a birthday party going on today, and I am going to take part in it.
Well, have fun. I'm a little jealous, but hey, it's okay. Tell me all about it. I want to see pictures. All right.
Okay. Thank
all right, everybody. Y'all guys here?
Y'all guys here. Y'all guys here to all.
All right.
Here to all.
Anyị na-eto Chineke onye kere ụwa. Anyị na-eto Chineke eke kere ụwa. Anyị na-eto Chineke onye kere ụwa. Anyị na-eto Chineke eke kere ụwa. Maka ihe ọma niile o mere anyị. Anyị ekele Chineke. Anyị ekele onye kere ụwa maka ihe o mere anyị. Anyị na-eto Chineke, anyị ekele Ọkatọnda, anyị ekele Olodumare maka ihe o mere anyị. Ọ nọ n'aka nri n'ihu anyị, n'azụ anyị, n'aka ekpe. Ọ nọ n'aka nri n'ihu anyị, n'azụ anyị, n'ihu anyị. Anyị ekele Chineke.